leaving it in. Every time you're like, you're not leaving that in, right? I'm like, nope, now it's in.
The one rule of editing: if they say to cut it, it stays.
I say
It makes our pod look more like
Professional.
Yeah, the number of episodes that have started with that statement fading in is pretty great. Yeah,
it's perfect.
I've grown to accept it.
It's perfect. All right, we're here. We're back.
We
Connor,
are? Oh.
you were hit back.
I'm not dead.
In person, no longer in spirit. James is doing good, I think.
You're not sick, buddy? Fever?
Wait, hold on.
Anything?
Wellness check, everybody. Everybody
Wellness
doing good?
check, doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Oh no.
Those coughs probably didn't come over the mic, but whatever.
Anyways, we're back, and in I guess recognition of December 7th, a day which will live in infamy. We forced Connor to watch a
Whoa, we didn't force Connor to do
Titan
anything.
blockbuster that has defined movie making for an entire generation of people. It is the war movie that most go to when they want to cry, when they want to laugh, when they want to see cool things explode, and they want to feel American patriotism. I'm, of course,
Gundam
talking
live
about
action.
Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, the 3.5-hour epic that is loosely based on
I feel like that's being general. That's being generous, like loosely. The only thing it has in common is the attack.
Yeah, it's a movie that exists, and we made you watch it.
Again,
your thoughts. We
They
have
didn't
our
make
own.
me watch it this time. This was an idea that I agreed to and was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that sounds like
Because
fun.
we were originally going to do like a whole war movie kind of thing, and then just time constraints.
you know, time constraint, and kind of so.
And then we just found that we all watched Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So we'll
And,
just talk about Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, you know, James
Again,
and Isaac
this is
both
our-
pitched it. I opened it up and I saw the 3-hour runtime and I immediately regretted my decision.
In the honor of American media just constantly doing rehashes and reboots, we have decided to come out with a Pearl Harbor Redux
Part 2.
episode.
You guys already did one, huh?
Yeah, we did one too.
Why'd you pitch it?
We did it for the 80th anniversary. So this is for the 83rd,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Which is, first off, let's start there. 83 years. Doesn't feel like a long time,
That's
but it
not
is
a
a
long
long
time.
time.
It is and it isn't, yeah.
Because there are people who, I mean, not many nowadays, but there are people who grew up in the American, like, at least when we were kids, that experienced this.
Yeah.
This was their, unfortunately, their 9/11. And it's one of the most seismic events, not only in American history, but I feel like the world history. It changes the landscape
Yeah.
of the 20th century. Because America was just full on like, don't bother us, and then it was like, nope, you guys bothered us. All right,
Yep.
we're in it now, and
Well,
yeah. So
Very poor taste joke.
it's been 80 years.
There was just a movie about it. This is the biggest blockbuster of the year.
All right, so let's start with this.
Nonetheless,
Now that we've already talked about the runtime,
and the actual events,
Connor's favorite thing to complain about.
which is weird because you like the Lord of the Rings movies.
I don't like the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, that's awkward. So much for the Lord of the Rings Part 2 podcast.
Now you also have that on recording so people can get mad at me in real time.
They're for a certain person. No big deal.
so other than the events of Pearl Harbor that take up a majority of this movie, people think about this in terms of Michael Bay. Now, you being kind of an outsider to being a fan of movies,
What a polite way to put it.
Michael Bay has a very bad reputation, irregardless of if people like movies or not.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love everything he's made.
Name
Do you really? What is your opinions of Michael Bay, both before and
what's your
then coming out?
What's your
out of
history
this?
with Michael Bay?
I'm trying to think of movies that he's made that I
We
watched.
have
you wanna
praised
do you wanna list
Transformers
real quick?
on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
Transformers is the only one I could think of.
In
that I actually
order.
know.
In order. 1995, he comes out with Bad Boys, the cop movie.
No idea.
The Rock with not The Rock. It's with Nicolas Cage. Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, Bad Boys 2, The Island, Transformers, the three Transformers.
Yep.
Pain and Gain, The Rock, and this one is The
With
Rock,
The Rock.
and Mark Wahlberg. The fourth Transformers, 13 Hours, which is another movie I recommended to you.
That was one of the ones I was gonna watch.
The Last
too
Night,
strong.
which is the fifth Transformers. And then he has Six Underground and Ambulance, which are just movies that just.
Exist.
So yeah, so I've only watched the Transformers. Otherwise.
But that's fair because
But
I think
those were good films.
I think Transformers, for better or worse, is like peak Michael Bay, especially that first one.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it, where like
I'm sad I wasn't on that episode.
there's so many good things about this movie, and there's so many bad things about this movie, but it is such a good movie.
such a good
yeah.
film.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of those I think are really top-notch action movies, especially with the crap that we've got now. Like, I don't know. I would rather watch any of those three movies over and over than like Black Panther the 4.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Mainly because I just like big robots, but you know, I digress.
Also, yeah, it's giant robots.
But anyway,
Who doesn't like giant robots?
everybody takes giant robots, dude.
Anyway, Pearl Harbor.
Well, I bring that back because
We were talking about Michael Bay.
we were trying to paint a picture of Michael Bay for comments.
Yes.
No, all I have known about him is that he is a man who enjoys big explosions, and based on the 3 Transformers movies and Pearl Harbor, that tracks so far.
Yeah. He's a very practical director too, which
In terms of like his effects.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
I mean,
could
you
put that
watch.
together.
I mean, I don't know if you have watched any behind the scenes of the Transformers, but
A little bit.
There's that scene when the bus gets split in half by the robot, and that like actually happened. They had to do it once because the bus driver was like, "Yeah, I'm not going back in there." Because they literally had the bus driving, and then they just had it like fall apart on the highway, and it just rolled, just like, and that's all on camera. So stuff like that, I'm like, that's genius.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. I mean, you're risking the lives of like
bunch of people, yeah.
so many people.
Especially when you
But like,
how much C4 do you think that guy goes through in a year?
oh, a lot easily. I think it's 13 hours was I think the most live ammunition used on a motion picture up until
Sick.
that point. I don't know what it is now. It beat Block Hawk Down surprisingly.
Ridiculous.
Nice.
Ridiculous.
We love a good live fire.
That
exercise.
movie though, yeah. If you like action and guns, that movie is top tier.
Okay. That was it was a real close call between
Yeah.
Lone Survivor and 13 Hours. So, or whatever
Yeah.
it was called. Yeah,
Yeah, Lone Survivor. Yeah.
Today, so that was just
Which
yeah.
we might get to as well. But anyways, Pearl Harbor, the movie.
Pearl Harbor. Yeah.
Opening thoughts. Your opening thoughts.
That first like hour felt really disjointed.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of stuff was happening, and I mean, and partially this is because I'm watching them while I'm working. So you know, there's some times where I'm just like phasing out for a second. I'm like, wait, I gotta rewind. Yeah, that first hour, I was like, this is just. I mean, it's content,
Yeah.
but it's not really like anything exciting. And then when the bomb started dropping, I was like, okay, now I get it. We were, you know, all these characters are gonna tell their little micro story as it's happening, and then, you know, empathy.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at me. But that up until
Pearl Harbor.
the events of Pearl Harbor happened,
Up until December 7th.
every other part of that, everything before that was very just like weird, and it just felt really off. And then the movie kept going.
That's the one thing that gets people about this movie.
Yeah.
It's called Pearl Harbor, but then it just keeps going afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I think it's called Pearl Harbor, and the Pearl Harbor part is like 40 minutes of a 3-hour film.
I think every time this movie has been on TV, I turn it on. It's only ever the Pearl Harbor attack. It's no other
They
part of
time
the
it
film.
perfectly where it's like, all right, when
Yeah.
is everybody going to be home? Let's make sure it runs at that point
Yeah.
in time.
I mean, that's
They-
the meat. That's what
They
you're there
have
for.
all day to show the rest of
I'll
the movie.
be honest, before we did our podcast 2 years ago, I like barely remembered anything about the beginning.
Yeah. I don't even remember it now.
I still don't.
I'm sitting here reading the Wikipedia page. Like, I
Yeah,
couldn't
he goes to
picture a
Britain.
scene.
Like it's like a love triangle. He goes to Britain. He gets shot down, and then he comes back December 6th. And like they wake up hungover December 7th. And like you're just like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna get in planes. It's like that's so badass.
right. Now that's the male
That
fantasy.
actually happened, by the way. That actually happened.
Not these characters are not based on are not real
Yeah.
people, but
But
it
just
is
the
based off of
events,
something
yes,
that
yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Same would go with the Doolittle raids at the end of the film. It's based on true events. That is not how it was actually in real life.
Yeah.
James, I took a history class. I know.
We should have made you watch Midway.
Which is unfortunate because Midway is the superior movie at all facets,
Yeah.
other than maybe the visual effects.
I think Midway was one of the ones that I
Yeah.
suggested.
Yeah.
Mhm, absolutely.
Midway's really good.
That's just that both of you suggested Pearl Harbor, so I went with it.
Because
Well,
Midway starts
yeah.
with Pearl Harbor and then it goes into the Battle of Midway, which arguably is the more interesting part of the war. Whereas this movie is like 3 years before, and then Pearl Harbor, and then it's like 2 months after.
Yep.
It's like that's such a weird time to think about.
So,
But anyways, so let's get into the meat of it.
Ben Affleck.
The big one. The actual action sequence.
oh, it's like the bomb.
No, that's Oppenheimer.
I was like, are we talking about
That's
the
a
movies?
different
Or are we talking
movie,
about just
Connor.
history in general?
Wrong part of World War II.
I was off by a little bit.
Yeah, just 3 years.
The action sequences were great.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful. Well, not beautiful in the sense of like, well made and looked good. Not beautiful in the sense that I enjoy watching human life disappear.
Something I think we have commented on about Michael Bay before is that even though his work might get derided for being light on story and heavy on action, at least he can direct action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, let's have this discussion now. Is he the best at it? Do we think? I think he's the best at it in terms of like big giant set pieces.
If you're going the scale of action,
Yes.
then absolutely
Yeah.
yes. There are definitely like individual fights, like the John Wick movies stand out.
Yeah,
sure,
no,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
Is that you can't beat in a
But
close quarter.
I think what's
Yeah.
also cool is, and a lot of it is this practicality that it uses, is like there's a sense of weight and actual like physics
Yeah.
to the fighing. It's not Pacific Rim 2, just giant megazords
Yeah.
throwing each other into
Sorry.
buildings, just because
Let's
it
not
looks
talk about
cool.
that.
I am very much on record of how much I hate Pacific Rim 2 compared to the first
I hate
one.
that shit. So bad.
The first one is so much better.
It's so good.
Such a good movie. Pacific Rim win.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Anyway,
I'm
Pearl
down to
Harbor.
I'm down to do a
But-
giant robots pod anytime.
But
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, it's very difficult to capture that sense
Scale.
of like not just necessarily scale, but like how it actually like feels. So that's one of the things that like to bring up the John Wicks, like you said, like in close quarters, that's what it's kind of like. You get a good sense of how that actually will work. You don't feel like
There's a
everything's
claustrophobia
floating.
to it.
There's yeah, and then like in Pearl Harbor, like the one that pops to mind is when they're at the hangars, they're running to the planes, and they're like keep dropping into dugouts because the Japanese fighters are like flying overhead and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
like a couple times where they're just he doesn't zoom out, but you do get a sense of like, okay, these guys are trying to hit something thousands of feet in the air with a shotgun, and you get a real sense of just like this is meaningless, and you get why they have to run to the planes because it's just so like you can tell really easily how outclassed they are without it feeling like it's action heroes like running through explosions kind of thing, So I mean, I really appreciate his ability, and he did that in the Transformers too, where it's just
yeah.
the few times where you see them, the CGI giant robots duking it out, and you just see Sam like sprinting under them, and you're like, I have a real sense of how massive these things are and the damage they're causing to the environment.
I think for the Pearl Harbor attack scene in this film, the part that adds the most scale to me is when it cuts back to the nurses who started running out to take care of everybody who was injured. Because then you have not only the nurses, but then you have the people on the boat, specifically the Arizona, and then you have Ben Affleck and who was the other actor in this film? Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, our guy. He's an Oppenheimer.
So you have those three stories running parallel to each other, all witnessing the same event. But yet Michael Bay never loses cohesion of what is happening to each of these characters. Or
Yeah.
set
Really
pieces
well
at each
edited.
time.
too, because he cuts away at the right moment.
Yeah,
where you're
exactly.
Like, what is going on? You know, like we just saw. Who's the Cuba Gooding Jr. character? The cook.
Yeah, when he gets on the
We're like, he's about to go on the
anti-aircraft
gun. Like, why are we not watching that? That's
Yeah.
such a cool scene.
Yeah, he really does capture the hecticness of it without you losing the plot at any point. And then everything still kind of works together, which is really cool because obviously when you're getting bombed, it's going to be hectic. Go on.
I'm
We're
only
about to get canceled. Do I have to
No.
mute the mic?
I'm laughing to myself when you bring up he doesn't lose the plot. When the plot of that scene is Pearl Harbor is getting attacked.
Well, I just
It's
meant-
when that is over and the plot continues that
he
everything
loses
loses
the plot.
the plot.
Yeah.
It's a turn of phrase, James.
Yeah.
But after the Pearl Harbor scene, you have their training for the Doolittle raids, and you
Yep.
have the raids themselves, and then you have when they actually land in China.
Yep.
After that,
Land.
land, yeah. Fall.
Falling with style.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those scenes.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I like.
I think Midway does them better,
Yeah,
but those scenes are still good.
more accurately.
Yeah. That's facts.
Yeah, when they were like, when they were like, we got to launch the planes earlier, and they were tossing stuff out, and they're like, get rid of like the targeter, like the bomb, like whatever it is. I was like, you wouldn't do that.
But they did.
They did. They had to.
I'm just like,
They had to.
I'm like, I get they had to and stuff, but I'm just like the concept of just like, I'm like,
It was
Anybody
ridiculous.
who doesn't know history would be immediately like taken out of this sequence. Just be like,
Do you
you're
know
not
it's
gonna take your guns off. I'm like,
It's the first time that bombers launched from a carrier in the history of the world. Was that right? It's pretty crazy.
yeah. It was. It's one of those things that I didn't actually think about until I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, they
You're
really
like,
had
this
to
is
figure out how
absurd.
to make
Yeah.
planes take off
do that.
really, really fast. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, you're just in the drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's what I like about these movies is like early, like rudimentary aerial and naval warfare.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're still figuring shit out while we're fighting each other. like the Japanese in this, were trying to figure out how to even just drop torpedoes on the bomb on the ships in Pearl Harbor because it was so
that was
shallow.
that was a fun little scene.
Yeah.
When they talked about how they're doing, they're like, "Oh, we made wooden fins," and then you can see it. I was like, "That's cool. I like innovation."
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't be appreciative because it's a terrible, tragic event, but it was still fun.
We can appreciate the marvel and ingenuity of
Yeah.
Engineering.
the guys who made these terrible machines.
Yeah. It's the absolute destruction.
I mean, hey, some would say the Mitsubishi Zero is still the greatest fighter pilot of all time, or fighter plane of all time.
Oh boy, man-made horror is beyond my comprehension.
Well, I mean, like that kind of stuff obviously comes back to the consumer in some way.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, no, obviously, terrible events.
Good scene.
We don't condone mass violence
Now,
unless it's against your players.
Pearl Harbor is an interesting case in the scope of war cinema because I think most people would very easily say that the action scenes take priority over the characters. Whereas you'll find in a lot of other war movies, I'm sure the ones that you watched, characters typically are the driving force behind the appeal of the film. Not necessarily just the action scenes themselves, although those will get a lot of attention in, say, like Saving Private Ryan, for example. But why watch after that? It's for the nice characters and the great acting. So what do you think of Ben Affleck and
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett?
I couldn't have told you the main characters' names for the first like hour and a half of the film.
Rafe and Danny.
Something like that. Yeah.
I know their names. I don't know the name. I don't know Kate. What is it? Kate Winslet? No, not Kate Winslet. I don't know her name. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, no,
Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale. Sorry.
And admittedly, for a little bit there, they kind of had same face for me, and I was just like, "Is this not just the same person?" And then like after like a little bit, they kind of separated, and I was like, "Okay, I get it now." But like for a little bit, I was like, "Didn't this guy just go to Europe? Why is he in Hawaii?"
Evelyn is her name.
Evelyn.
By the
Yeah,
way.
I just looked it up.
But yeah, I mean the characters were kind of there.
Yeah.
The dude who had like the stutter and anxiety problem was kind of cool. I liked him as a character just because, you know, he had something to differentiate him from Macho Man.
This is the problem with it. I think this is the post Saving Private Ryan where it goes bad because there's a
Yeah.
lot of good movies where it focuses mainly on the characters, using characters to like heighten the action sequences where there's real weight. You know? We'll get to Lone Survivor in like 5 minutes, but this is like because the characters ultimately, I don't care for them. I don't know if it's because they're fictional in a real setting. Because we can do, we've talked about
Saving
movies.
Private Ryan.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
you can do that. It's just
Yeah.
like we don't care about these guys.
I think it comes down more so to Michael Bay, his priorities when he's making
He's
the film.
never been a character actor.
And also
director.
the script itself, its length, the romance subplot shoehorned into this this movie.
Stupid.
That
Yeah.
it's elements like that. I think that, what would be the word for it? Go against the quality of the characterization.
Do you
in
want to
this
hear?
film.
So the writer is Randall Wallace.
Okay.
Do you happen to know what he's written?
I can click on this right now. What has he written?
Braveheart, The Man in the Iron Mask, We Were Soldiers, and heaven is for real.
Okay,
Just like explains who
yeah.
he is as a character.
You get a Braveheart in.
There's a reason why we
Man
didn't
in the
recommend those
Iron
movies. Because, like I said, they are the what is wrong with everything post Saving Private Ryan
Now,
in terms of the shift in war movies.
prior to Saving Private Ryan, but even before that, decades before that movie came out, I think depicting World War II in movies led more towards the heroicism or the idea of these soldiers as almost either mythical or heroic figures to American citizens.
Yeah.
I think Saving Private Ryan is one of the things that I was reading when I rewatched it was the way that the movie almost villainizes its characters to the point where they're all unlikable or make terrible mistakes and choices in combat, not just to humanize them, but to demystify them in a way.
Remind everybody that
Well,
soldiers
yeah, because it's like you listen to Matt Damon talk for 30 minutes, and you're like, why the fuck are we saving
Yeah.
this guy? Like, this guy sucks.
Yeah. But at the time that movie had come out, that was really kind of
Yeah.
against the grain of, World War II wasn't really necessarily, part of the zeitgeist a whole lot by that point, since you had Vietnam and Korea.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
But
Vietnam was more
prescient.
popular
Yeah.
war.
Yeah. But nevertheless, I think that that is really the big shifting, focusing on characterization that Saving Private Ryan brought to war movies was the idea that these will be not heroic figures for Americans to idolize, but regular citizens from America who just happened to be in this situation, who volunteered. Whether they ended up being in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the wrong time. But
which I find kind of mildly ironically funny, because that shift, and because it's across a lot of different war media, not just movies, but like in games and stuff too, it's a lot like that. I feel like that's made more people want to join the army, and like, because they're like,
Well.
you know what, they are just a random guy off the street. That could be me doing the cool thing. It's
there are
like-
still mythical
Well, but
people.
I think it's
Top
also-
Gun Maverick.
Watch it.
I'm just kidding. They keep sending me subliminal messaging. It's so weird.
I forgot what I was gonna say. I got
caught up in the bit.
I got so triggered by Top Gun Maverick being brought up. I was like, whoa.
My apologies.
It's okay.
But yeah, just like I feel like there's just a lot more of that, like the male fantasy of The Last Stand. Isaac and I have sent TikToks about this kind of thing to each other.
I'm him.
Yeah, just like that kind of thing.
The male, the male urge to go die in a European war.
exactly. Where it's just like, it's a joke, but also there are definitely a lot of people that have that kind of like, wow, I mean,
Yeah.
being one of the guys in World War II kind of thing, or like that feeling, like I could have taken the fight to them, even though like would have been a heroic death and it would have been great, because just like suddenly all these media that they're consuming have characterism, and you actually like, oh, you know what?
I
These
am the
are
hero.
people.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate these actors on screen as more than just bags of meat to be shot and killed.
Yeah.
And then they can't run a mile under 10 minutes.
Yep.
That's the thing that always gets. That's the thing that gets me about.
You can tell they're not trained.
I recently rewatched Band of Brothers. I told you this, but I rewatched the entire series because I specifically watched the first one on D-Day, and then I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna watch the whole
Yeah.
series."
You feeling down? You want to talk about it? You doing all right?
On D-Day?
You watching Band of Brothers? You feeling okay? You want to talk about it?
It's a bit of a...
D-Day.
Need to go through
It's a bit of a
something?
sad. He has very specific feelings on Band of Brothers.
It's just a joke.
It's
It's a depressing
emotional.
show.
It's emotional impact.
But anyways, what really struck me was the final episode when it's like, yeah, this guy went to go work in a factory. This guy went to go work on his farm. This guy went to college. You're like, fuck, these guys treated it like a job. Like, it wasn't even like, yo, we're in the army. We're in the army. Like, this is like, rah. It was just like, I got to go do this. This is what I got to do. And it's
Jarhead.
like, whoa.
Jarhead does the same thing.
Yeah.
Both in the book and in the movie as well, where it's like this was just their job at this point in
was just
time,
what
and that was what they had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And now they're just Walmart employees, you know?
It's crazy. And I was just thinking of that. I was just like, that's got to be crazy to just be gone for, because these guys didn't have leave or anything unless they were shot. So it was like, you're gone. Like, you're you're in Europe for 4 years.
It's a point of view that you don't really empathize
Yeah.
with if you don't
Yeah.
either haven't been there or don't know somebody who
because the last
was
episode,
in
you feel that
service.
anxiety where they're like, the war is over, let us go.
Yeah.
And then when Nixon is like, or Winters is like, yo, we might go to Japan. They're like, fuck, we're going to Japan? It's like, shit, I forgot. Like, the war is still happening.
Yeah,
there's
like, it
still
didn't
stuff
just end.
happening,
Like, this was a thing that had to, like, there was stuff after the war
Yeah.
where it was like, we have to keep going. And I was like, God,
Just keeping on
that's it was such an eye opener for me that I just didn't pay attention the first 3 times I watched the series.
Free college is a hell of a drug.
I don't know if they got the GI Bill at that point. I don't think the GI
Yeah, I
Bill
think that was around
I think
Vietnam
that
era.
was,
Yeah,
I think that was
now.
post World War II.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Nevertheless, Saving Private Ryan.
That was a good film.
Improvement on all
Wait,
fronts.
so Pearl
Okay.
Harbor. We got to rank Pearl Harbor.
We got to
Oh.
rank Pearl Harbor.
We said, I think we both said like C's, B's.
I think so, yeah.
That's probably right to put it.
C plus at least.
I would do first hour, low C, like C minus.
Oh, I'll give that shit a D.
Middle is like let's like a solid B plus,
The middle's an A.
and then you got just like a hard C at the end.
The doodle rate's like a B. What is the composite of that? Someone do
What's
the
that GPA? It's rocking like a
Don't forget to
2.8.
comment what our actual CGP.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, it got cum laude.
not bad.
Anyways,
pass.
all right, moving on.
All
Saving
right,
Private
talking to
Ryan,
a valedictorian, Saving Private Ryan.
which some would argue is the GOAT of war movies. I would not argue that.
I think yeah, understandable. There are definitely personal favorites that
Yeah.
everybody
but
has.
but
Yeah.
I'm saying like amongst like critics and scholars, it's like this is the war movie
On IMDb,
that is
the highest rated.
Dollars.
IMDb scholars,
yeah.
Redditors.
Whereas-
Yeah,
like-
say Reddit threads don't
Yeah,
count.
yeah. Well, no, because if you look at the Wikipedia, it's all critics are like, oh, this is one of the greatest war movies of all time, and people talk about this movie even 30 years later. It's like this is one of the best war movies of all time.
In no small part because every other war movie after it copied it.
Yeah,
No.
and I also think it's because we got nothing like it before. So when it came out, it was like, whoa, this is like dudes' heads are getting blown off.
It was really the realism.
Yeah. But it's really, let's be real, it's those first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
When they're on the North Sea.
It's-
But
yeah,
by the way,
it's this- yeah.
full disclaimer, that's like one of the-
Craziest thing.
One of the greatest action sequences of
Yeah.
all time. For sure. No doubt. But I rewatched it like a couple months ago and I was like,
It doesn't hit as hard.
yeah, it's like,
The first time you have that extra shock factor, but when you know what's
Yeah.
coming in, it's not going to hit.
yeah.
nearly
No,
as
no, no. I'm saying post the D-Day landing.
Mm-hmm.
When they get off the beach and they actually do the Saving Private Ryan, when they actually go save Private Ryan, I'm like,
It's a bit of a slog.
this
Takes a
movie could
minute,
be
yeah.
like 20 minutes shorter, I feel like.
Now you know how I feel whenever you guys like you watch something long and you're like, wow, this
Sorry
kind of
we
keeps
educated
going.
you with 2 of the greatest 4 movies of all time, Connor. Our apologies.
It's not just The Godfather, is it?
Yeah, we made you watch Interstellar too.
Yeah, we made you watch
Exactly, yeah.
Interstellar and Pearl Harbor. 2 of the greatest 4 movies of all time.
and you'll never get it. All of those films could have been 20 minutes shorter.
Oh, 20 minutes would have made a difference.
No, not really. Not on Pearl Harbor, I can tell you that much.
Personally, I agree. And
Yeah.
I rewatched it last week, and I felt the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if anything, I actually had a more, I wouldn't say visceral, but negative reaction rewatching it, where I'm like, yeah, these are all like actually just bad people
Yeah.
who either aren't following orders, or insubordinating left and right, or just don't have any sense of like, which is not to say that's what every soldier was going to be like back then,
Yeah.
or anybody who was, who had volunteered for World War II. But I think this movie somewhat emphasizes the wrong characters. This was a point I saw Roger Ebert made, was the character who speaks French and German, Upham or Uphold, I think his name is. He's the really shy guy who has never been in combat before.
Yeah, I
if you
know- I know
remember
what you're
that
talking about. Yeah,
character. Yeah. He was supposed to be the point of view character, or he should have been the point of view
Yeah.
character, because he's the most inexperienced. He is the most naive about World War II. And in a film that is going to go to such lengths to have such brutal realism about the combat, that's the kind of guy you want to have your audience POV through.
Right.
But instead we get Tom Hanks, the guy who already has post-traumatic stress disorder about about combat. The guy who is, you know, jaded and grizzled, and he's trying to find the reason why he's doing this. And the only backstory we get for him is that he was a school teacher in America, and that's it. And so when he starts, you know, forcing the other guys to be like, actually, no, guys, we're going to abandon our mission to go take that radio tower over there. Or actually, no, we're going to stay and defend this bridge that we weren't told to defend.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can't sympathize with the guy who acts that way. And the one character who we should be following, who is one of the only two who live throughout the entire movie, barely has screen time, and his, like, you know, when he actually fires his gun, it's at the very end anyway.
Yeah.
So we don't spend enough time with him for that to actually feel like an emotional payoff. It's just kind of like, okay, you know, he did it. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie just doesn't hit as hard looking back on it, I feel.
I mean, I think a lot of the problems too, and some would say it's the success of this movie, but Spielberg directing just doesn't do it for me. I mean, this is pre like Spielberg as a machine, but like, I don't know, man. Me and Spielberg, I have a very, very tumultuous relationship with Steven Spielberg.
That's understandable.
Post 1994,
Yeah.
just because it's like,
I feel like with Spielberg is an interesting director because most people you can be like, here's his early period, middle period, late period. For Spielberg, it's like, all right, here's his early period, his middle early period, his late early period.
yeah, it's just like the problem I have with Spielberg is there's not really elements of his style, and some
Which
would
is so
say-
interesting because
some would say that's actually
he
a good thing
doesn't have
because
a
he doesn't
style.
have a style. Yeah, so he just makes whatever movies he wants to make.
Yeah.
But like at some point, you just feel like you're attaching your name to things just for the money.
I mean,
And I'm not saying like Spielberg's phoning it in because he's very much on record of being like, I wanted to, you know, celebrate the greatest generation and all this and all that. Obviously, he made the Band of Brothers after a couple
He
years later.
had made Schindler's List prior to this.
Yeah,
another
so
World
it's a
War II
very
film.
like, you know, personal topic for him. I'm sure. I don't know. There's just something missing here with Spielberg direction where I'm just like,
I feel
because
like
the technicality of this movie. I mean, you talk about like the cinematographer where
Yeah.
he's like cutting frames and like
Yeah.
he's having like slow f stops and like where the effects where the camera looks shaky and stuff. It's like he's purposefully manipulating it to where like the shutter speed is too slow.
you know
Makes it
how
feel
you've
very-
ever watched a TV show or something where somebody gets shell shocked and it goes like that. That started in this film because
That makes sense.
Yeah, like that's just how often this is referenced. But I definitely agree with you that I feel like I respect this movie more than I actually like it.
Yeah.
Because the way that it has changed the way that we film war or represent war on film, I think was a vast improvement, or at least has led to a lot of better
it's the
improvements.
biggest. I
post
mean,
here.
that's probably the biggest legacy of this movie will be just the way we capture
yeah.
war scenes.
I mean, when even veterans say that they couldn't even make it past
Yeah.
the D-Day scene, they had to walk out. You know, I mean,
That's how you know you captured well.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. That being
So-
said, though, the Matt Damon character was
Yeah, he sucks.
you guys just don't understand.
Because I remember being like, "Oh, cool, Matt Damon." I forgot he's in this. I didn't forget, but I was like, "Matt Damon, nice. We're spending a lot of money saving you in a lot of movies." And then
He's got a real problem, doesn't
And
he?
then he opens his mouth in like 40 minutes in, and I'm like, "Why are they saving? Like, let him die."
I felt that way about Vin Diesel. I'm like, yeah, I completely forgot he was
The
in this.
the only character I liked was Tom Sizemore, the sergeant, and then the sniper.
Yeah, the sniper.
sniper was so cool.
Jackson, I think, is
Yeah,
his name.
yeah.
he was always my favorite character.
Yeah, he was cool.
But
Everybody else, I was just kind of like, whatever.
your thoughts?
I mean, it's been a long time since I watched it, so a lot of specifics are lost on me.
Yeah.
But I remember liking it because, I mean, like we basically talked about, is that opening sequence is so viscerally shocking, and so like, you know, like it. As you said, up to that point, it's been war is like a beautiful thing and like, you know, heroism and stuff, and then it's all of a sudden, no, here's what it's actually like, and we watch people get dismembered and, you know, guys walking around, where's my arm kind of thing. It's just like it was very cool to see. Like, cool is not the right word. I don't know what else to explain what I'm going for here, but like, it's just
Interesting is the
I
good
guess,
neutral
yeah,
word
interesting
to
would be
say.
a good
Yeah.
neutral word. Just to see that like truly captured what it would be like to be in a live fire scenario,
Yeah.
Just because I mean, a lot of action movies, you're just like, wow, this is not how this works.
You need to watch Heat.
You do need to watch Heat. Heat is so good.
You want to talk about live fire?
I don't want to see a gun go off next to a dude
No.
with
I know
trigger.
we like say like, oh, this is gonna be a good movie. This is actually like one of the best
I was
movies.
like, I gotta start just saying no. I gotta draw a line in the sand.
Heat is good. I'll say that much. Anyways, back to
Regardless, tangent's
sorry.
over.
I've been thinking about Heat a lot.
I don't know what my feelings on it would be rewatching it. I imagine I'd have much of similar of like, okay, now that this isn't shocking, I can like appreciate the characters more and understand that, more about them and how failures might be made in the writing process, etc. But like initially, I remember being engaged the entire time, and as you guys know, that's very difficult for me with movies.
Yeah. Now we have now. Do you have any more to say about
Oh.
Saving Private Ryan?
No, I don't.
Where would you rank it?
Just ushered in this new era of World War II
Probably
movies.
like an A. I think
Probably like a solid A.
enjoyed it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd still give it like an A. Yeah.
That's what's funny about this film and movies where it's like, I'm sure we said the same thing about like Citizen Kane, for example, where it was like, I respect this movie, I'll give it an A, but like it's not my favorite,
Yeah.
or the best that I've seen.
Well, I mean, like,
Because when you're talking about an S tier movie, it needs to
Yeah.
hit on every single facet, and so like
and it really gets A for
doesn't
just like
really have a lot
influence
of
alone.
facets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
influence
But
the things that it did first. That
yeah,
influenced it.
yeah.
It's one of those funny things too, where just reading through like the Wikipedia page for Saving Private Ryan, there's so much discussion about like the themes of morality and duty. It's like, guys, the movie was just bad.
Saving Private Ryan
Two different
bad.
jokes there.
That's what I'm gonna lead with. Saving Private Ryan bad, and James like a picture of James just like
Yeah, that should have been a thumbnail. Yeah.
Does he know?
We need more clickbait titles.
No,
we do.
don't.
We should get on that.
Anyway.
Let's get a IT on that.
We've seen one film that
Let's get production.
includes historical events, but is largely fictional. And then we have Saving Private Ryan, which is almost entirely fictional. You also watched Lone Survivor,
Yes.
which is directly based on a book about true
Entirely.
events.
Well, yeah, mostly realistic.
Yeah.
I would say.
And they showed
We
the
don't
guys
know
at the
about
end.
those Navy SEAls from time to time.
Yeah.
They like to embellish.
They keep their secrets.
It's okay. It's okay. Directed by Peter Berg, our boy Peter Berg.
Our boy Peter
We
Berg.
like a good Peter Berg.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. It's like a C tier movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A what?
a
C
C tier
tier.
movie.
Okay. State your case. No.
I'm
Let's hear him
in
out.
trouble.
Let's hear him out. Let's hear him out.
We won't let you cook, but you can enter the kitchen.
Just gonna write here. Don't let Connor in
Yeah,
anymore.
right, yeah. I'm getting fired. Don't regret beating the crap out of you last night in D&D.
Just writing Connor off for the Friday Night Lights pod.
Yeah.
No, so like I enjoyed the characters and I like the characterization. I like the I like how they interacted. It felt very like
The four guys.
yeah. And even just like the supporting cast, like the one private who stayed behind. He did that
blonde one?
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like being like, wow, I really respect like the rest of my squad, like the higher ups and stuff. And then like the few moments where like he's supposed to be taking charge, you can see him like freeze up. And I was like, that's really cool because he's a private. He doesn't
Yeah.
have any live experience. He doesn't know what he's doing. And like, the actual like character moments when they're like,
He's a lieutenant, by the way. But yeah, anyways, continue. Sorry. I just had to clear that up.
I
Didn't want to offend anybody.
in my brain, he was,
Characters feel real.
Yes.
yeah.
And
Characters-
to be fair, in the SEALs, lieutenants are basically privates. So
so, he hadn't had any experience with the SEALs.
sure. Yeah,
Let's
he's
go with
a
that,
new
yeah.
guy. He's the new guy. Yeah.
They were hazing him for
new guy
20
on the
minutes.
block. Correct. Goat scene, by the way.
I was so not prepared for him to dance.
I love everything.
That
about
was
the
such a
been a
good bit.
while.
So I really
everything.
enjoyed the character moments, and I thought those were really good, and they
Yeah.
carried the film.
Yeah.
The action sucked, and I'm gonna be real with you.
At what point did the action suck?
There's a moment that stands out in my mind.
So like, so like they drop in, and like they do that first little setup, and it's like that's cool, like a little like
Yeah, you're watching them infiltrate.
they're watching them do the infiltration, and they have the sequence of them like where they get caught by like just the goat herders, and like we can't kill kids, and I was like that's really cool. Like this is leading up to be a really solid piece of like infiltration, kind of thing, and then they spent the next 40 minutes in a shootout.
I mean, that's what happened.
I know, but like it was just very like I know it's how it was, but it just felt like it kept like it didn't end, and I was like narratively, I know this is about a real event, so I can't give them too much crap for it, but like I was just like this is just it just keeps going, and I need a beat to stop and appreciate the fact that 3 characters just dropped dead.
I think.
And I was just like, it was just kind of, it just wasn't hitting.
I remember when this movie came out because we were still in high school, and there was a lot of talk about its intensity. That this movie was an intense movie. I remember people would say that specifically. And I think that is maybe back in 2013, what really lended that feeling was that it didn't take a beat. It didn't stop.
Yeah.
And when you're a high school or something like that, is like, oh my God, this just keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, that is what war is like,
The
obviously.
first
Yeah.
time we like chill is literally when Mark Wahlberg's face down in a ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he
Navy SEAL's like, wait, guys, what's the narrative arc of this fight right now?
yeah. And I mean, I get that. Like, obviously, if
What's
they're
my
being
character
as accurate as it
progression?
can
Did we
be,
miss the halfway twist yet?
but it's just like
The midpoint
Are we
twist?
back from commercial break?
I guess it's because I just feel like the action wasn't shot as well. So like it wasn't as interesting.
Both of us going to the mic.
Something, yeah. Like it just like I'm watching it because I focused on the action part because I was like, I like seeing guns. And I'm just watching this happen. It's not grabbing me. And I'm trying to put into words what exactly about it wasn't grabbing me.
Taking Connor off the Peter Berg podcast too.
Well, because I like long action sequences and I like movies that are intense and there is
Yeah.
no stopping point. I love stories like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that was the problem.
Sure. All valid.
I'm gonna say we've talked about stuff that's just
Nonstop.
nonstop,
Yeah.
full
Yeah,
full
John
throttle
Wick.
from the start. Yeah,
Yeah.
And that I've praised to high ends. It's just something about this one specifically. I was like, I just am not feeling the vibes. And then there was little character moments where I was like, yes, that's great. I love this.
Yeah.
But just something about the way the action was just either the shooting or like the camera shooting.
Actual camera itself.
Yeah, or like just the, for lack of a better word, choreography of it. Just it was not capturing me, and the fact that it just went on for so long, and I was just like, by the end of it, I was like, can we move on, please?
So that is a staple of Peter Berg.
If you don't like that one, don't watch anything
That's
else.
why I was like,
cool. So you can just take me off of those.
taking you off the Peter Berg podcast because literally everything that he ever does ever
Is
has,
like that.
has that stuff, which is why we like it because it's so different.
Or you keep me on that episode, and I'm the
You're the
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
yeah,
Understandable.
good counter arguments.
Yeah. Sometimes you guys need a. That's
ever
what I
want-
like to think that I bring is a little bit of a kneecapper to you.
Yeah,
guys.
you want to watch
Nah.
Battleship? No, just-
you want to watch what?
he directed Battleship.
Battleships.
Wasn't that the film with the aliens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that one.
Also starring Taylor Kitsch.
It wasn't Rihanna in it?
Yeah,
don't remember
Rihanna's in
anything
it.
about that movie.
Love that
I
movie.
watched it.
I love that movie.
Nevertheless,
I will not hate on that movie.
Lone Survivor.
I genuinely don't remember it. So yeah, I mean, like I feel like after I sit on it for a few days, I'll probably appreciate it a little bit more for what it did. Because like I said, I really enjoyed the character moments.
Yeah. The two scenes that stick out to me, there's one where they're talking about Coldplay. And then there's one where he has the flag of Texas, and the kid's like, America? And he's like, yes, that is America.
Well, the ones too that I'm thinking of is just
Spoken
like,
like a true Texan.
yeah.
when they're bunkering down for the day to take a nap, wait for nightfall to move. And there's the one guy who's just like he's snacking on his rations, and you just hear over the mic, he's like, "Can you not chew on the radio, please?" And I was just like, "That's such like human, that's
Yeah,
so real."
That's stuff you find in like a TV show.
Yeah.
not
Like-
like 2.5 hour movie.
I've done that to my coworkers
2
at work.
hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
there
it's
you
just
go.
like, and I guess that'd be a good point. Is that within 2 hours we had characterization that I would expect from a show. I really got to know and invest in these people. When
It's
the
another Peter Berg staple.
I'm not gonna say ranks, but when like the leader guy,
Mark Wahlberg.
no, not Mark Wahlberg,
The main
other
guy.
yeah, Mike or
Murph.
something, Murph, yeah,
Yeah.
When he was like, I'm
Oh,
going up.
and
You
Stellar?
are Mike Murphy. You are Mike Murphy.
Yeah, when he was like, I'm going up to the ridge, and Wahlberg's like, no, no, and they're having that whole back and forth and stuff. I was like, that is
Yeah.
cool, because like, for a majority of the time that I've known these characters, they've been shooting at something. You haven't had a whole lot of time to actually get me invested in them. So the fact that I'm like, don't do it, dude. Like, that's really good. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, the majority of the time they're shooting at something and it just wasn't hitting.
One of the things that this movie has stood out to me when I look back on it too is that this movie does a lot to re-inject the idea of heroism back into these characters as well. Which, I mean, this is 2013, but like we are of the age where Afghanistan is the war that we remember watching on
Afghanistan
TV
is
the
our
most.
Vietnam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to a certain extent, I feel like making movies about that war we haven't seen a lot because either it's fresh in our
Still
minds or it's
happening,
still
or
yeah.
was still happening.
Yeah.
I guess it's
Very much
over
on
now.
Yeah, I mean 2013. You know, this is
I think the events were like 2006 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to that end, I feel like that's what has always kind of stuck out to me. There's a scene where, again, I don't remember what character it is, but it's his death scene where, you know, he's on the ledge of a cliff and he has like arms wide open and the camera does this huge sweeping
That's
shot
Murph,
with
yeah.
the sun
That's when he makes
coming
the
over
call.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and being like, this is super cheesy. That one moment was the only part of the action scene that sticks out in my mind because I just remember being like, is this CGI?
This is a little.
But
Oh,
that
what was I gonna say?
feeling of trying to, you know, re-inject the sense of that these guys, you know, were almost more than, I mean, not just because these guys are SEALs, say they're more than normal citizens by that point.
Yeah, you know? I gotta go through a lot of training for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is that, what we criticized Saving Private Ryan of lacking in its characterization, which is a sense of duty. I just now remember you laughed at me for saying duty earlier.
Really? That just clicked? It's like 20 minutes ago.
Duty, camaraderie, brothership,
Yeah.
you know.
Said it again.
Because they don't look like SEALs,
Yeah.
especially like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I know. Real
But,
flabby
he looks
looking
like
guys.
Mark
But
Wahlberg.
I mean, my favorite part of this movie is everything before they take off or before they get in the big firefight. Because it's like you open with them just chasing each other on the, like they're doing a little run. And then they sit down and they're talking. They're like, you lost. It's like, oh, fuck, you are Mike Murphy. It's like, shit, I am Mike Murphy. It's like, stuff like that you find in a TV show. Where I'm like, that's good character work right there. And the only thing I don't like about this movie is everything post shootout.
Yeah. When he's
Where
actually in the
it's
village.
Just Mark Wahlberg, like,
Yeah,
just,
it's just-
crawling. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is
That too was
I
a bit
get
of a
why
drag
it's in
for
here.
me.
It's his story. I get it.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
you have to tell it. But
Yeah. Also, spoiler alert in the title.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, how could they really like? Come on.
I remember,
like when they spoiled Pearl Harbor.
vividly. I remember vividly. Someone came up to me after I watched this movie in high school and was like, "Did you watch it?" I was like, "Yeah, I watched it." They're like, so, like, what happens? I was like, "You want me to spoil it?" They're like, "Well, I know everybody else dies."
What is there to spoil then?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I will say one of the things that because I watched Pearl Harbor because you both recommended it, and when I looked at the list that Isaac recommended,
You looked
I
at which one had the shortest runtime?
no.
I'm surprised he didn't.
I mean, I did take that into account after I pulled up Pearl Harbor and it was 3 hours because I had stuff to do today. But no, I wanted to pick one of the options that were more modern.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a definite
good one.
There's obviously a definite shift in how warfare happens now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I liked about it was that, you know, in the Pearl Harbor movie, and obviously this is because it's Pearl Harbor, but like there's a lot of just boots on the ground. And even
Yeah.
like when they're doing like the final strike in the back half of the film, it's just kind of very like simple in its procedure because obviously it's how it was back then. And then in Lone Survivor, they have an AC-130 on standby. Like, and the final part is it's just raining hellfire down in
arts
this
of
poor
war.
village.
Yeah.
You know, when you're seeing massive rounds the size of an adolescent male's body punching into the dirt.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you know what? Yeah, things are a little bit different now.
That's one of the things I remember most about this movie. Is this is one of the first movies that showed the modern war, like one of the ones that had like a mainstream appeal. At least that I can recall off the top of my head, because I mean, my dad was in the military, so like anytime a war movie came out, it was like, "Son, we're going opening weekend." I was like, "Yes, Dad."
Okay.
So
I'm not fact checking you, but I do want to comment. Zero Dark 30 came out 2012, a year before.
okay,
And that I would also say is another contention.
but that
for-
one is more like
there aren't seals at the
Psych-
end.
that's like-
yeah, the psychological,
that's like more
strategic element behind
that's
behind
not
the scene.
actual like
And then there
guns
was
shooting.
Well,
but
I
that's
mean-
a good movie too. Which, by the way,
See-
I didn't recommend it because I don't classify it as a war movie. I classify it as more like a, I don't know, like a historical drama, I guess, to a degree.
Political propaganda.
Like-
no,
Nice.
It's a bank heist movie, but
Yeah.
the bank heist is
is
Osama
a
bin Laden.
man's life.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't classify it as a war movie. But that's the first movie. I mean, maybe like The Hurt Locker
I was gonna say Hurt Locker
or
came
like
out 20,
Jarhead, but Jarhead
2008.
was more of Desert Eagle or Desert Storm.
Which I think maybe just because Jarhead has its depiction of, like, in terms of actual Sam Mendes' directing in that film
Yeah,
is like a complete 180 from Spielberg's in Saving Private Ryan.
yeah.
Where everything is legible and clean and on a steady cam, you know? And also it's focused entirely on one character's perspective because it's based off of his memoir of the war. So you're only getting he doesn't even fire his gun throughout the entire war.
And some would say Jarhead 2 and 3 are even better than the first one.
Are you some? Or,
I would not say. I personally would not say that, but some would.
Marines, they would say that.
I'm sure somebody would.
Yeah.
are you trying to get conversation going in the comments? Or
No,
No, absolutely not.
I'm just trying to invoke a controversy.
But that was 2005. So I think that would probably also have a good, you know, in terms of one of the earliest films to represent modern warfare. That might be one of the first that you're looking at from America, at least. You know, other
I mean,
countries
I just,
fighting these
go
wars.
with COD Modern Warfare 1 and call it.
Some would argue that's the best one.
Yeah, so,
I would not be one of those. Some would.
I also enjoy that James opened with, I'm not trying to fact check you, and then immediately fact checked you.
It's usually how it goes.
Yeah, no.
I
Wasn't my
understood it.
intention.
That's why I disclaimed it with "to my knowledge."
Yeah. I,
Because I'm not
Classic-
sitting
pretty
here
classic
with the
James Bond,
fucking
yeah.
list
I really
of
just
all
wanted
the
to bring
war
up Zero
movies.
Dark 30 because it also has
Yeah.
Navy SEALs in it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Jarhead is also another movie I would recommend. I don't know if I recommended it in the list I gave you.
I don't remember. It was a long list. A lot of films. A lot of names I recognize with movies that I didn't see.
Is there any movie on the list that's on next? We can give you like a teaser.
I think I'll probably watch. What was it? We talked about it earlier. 13.
13 hours?
That's the one. Yeah,
It's a
I'll
good
probably
one.
watch 13
It's
hours.
about- do you know what it's about?
I skimmed it and promptly forgot.
It's about the when Benghazi ambassador, the embassy in Benghazi was attacked in 2001 or 2011. Sorry,
So yeah, so probably do that. Might watch American Sniper too, just because
that movie's heavy.
that's like
That's
well,
such a good movie, but it's
yeah,
regardless of how you feel about Chris Kyle.
it was one of the things that I was like,
I forgot. Do you like that movie?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to do a Clint Eastwood podcast at some point, too.
Yeah, we'll bring you on for that one.
Yeah. A lot of good ones.
I was gonna say that was one of the ones where like when it came out, I remember people talking about it forever,
Yeah.
and I just never went to go see it.
That's one of those movies I've mentioned.
That's
this.
one of the reasons why it took me forever to see it, too. Because I was like, too many people are talking
That's
about
one of those
this.
movies where my
Classic
dad
James.
was like, "We're going opening weekend."
Yeah.
and we did. We had to go to. I remember vividly, just to like off tangent. I remember vividly we went to the theater because this was before like online booking and all that. Like that became popular and like the way to do it. But I remember we went to the theater, and it was like we went at like 5, and the theater was like, "We don't have showings until 11:30." And my dad was like, "Do we stay up?" And I was like, I mean, I'm 12, so yeah, if you want to.
I'll be fine in the morning.
I'm
You
down
have a
for
problem.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching it. I've told this story many times where like the ending, like this is the first time a theater was completely silent on me. And it's such a good movie. Such a good movie.
1917.
That's my favorite war movie.
Probably not.
I think you should.
Since Isaac said it was his
think,
favorite, definitely not.
we are removing Connor from all future podcast episodes.
If it doesn't have modern guns, it's boring.
God.
I know you're doing an impression of
Somebody.
somebody with the wrong opinion,
Yeah.
but never mind.
Myself, yeah.
Is there an era of war that you would want to see? Because we've had this discussion.
I mean, I don't like seeing
give
war
mine.
in general, Isaac. I'm a peaceful man.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
yeah, right. That's a fucking lie.
Cut to me absolutely obliterating you guys. last
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, you avoid confrontation like you're addicted to it.
What are you talking about? I don't know. I've never been one of those guys who like was invested in wars, so I don't really have like a favorite war like a lot of.
Well, I'm not
males
saying you
do.
have to have a favorite war, but like, is there
But
an
yeah, I'm
era
just,
of
like,
warfare that you would be
not
like, oh, that would
particularly.
look cool? Because for me, it would be like medieval warfare. Like,
I mean, I guess it's also like a lot of things that I think would be kind of interesting. I've seen to some extent,
Yeah.
like so I'm not really like, oh wow, that hasn't been touched yet. Like, there's good medieval action movies that,
Civil War is always a fun war to watch.
Yeah, we don't really
Play.
talk about the Civil War.
Well,
at
that's
all.
something
that?
that America doesn't really want to.
I think part of it is because everything about the Civil War is either 5 hours long or a documentary
Yeah.
series.
Or it's happening in current life, and we don't
I
want to.
think a lot of it. Yeah, I think a lot of it too is we just don't want to be contentious,
Yeah, that's true too.
and it's like,
Any Civil War movie.
I mean, think of
very
like,
divisive.
think of the. I hate to say controversy, but that 12 years of slave costs.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are we doing, guys?
Yeah,
we
right.
can't even like acknowledge our past. What are we doing?
Supposed to be learning. That's the whole point of
I
history.
say controversy like in quotation marks because
Yeah.
it was a real controversy, but
We get you.
Glory is a really good movie. I love Glory. Starring Ferris Bueller.
Got to look at it so we go see what it is.
Starring Ferris
1998.
Ooh, that's the
Bueller,
wrong
Morgan Freeman, Denzel, who's
Privileges.
one of my favorite
Denzel
actors.
Washington.
Yeah,
Did you say that I
love
love?
Glory.
Computer privileges.
Hold up, I'll get out my computer.
Regardless,
Yeah,
Moving on.
there's a good bit.
how would you rank Lone Survivor?
I mean, I said C to piss you guys off, because I knew that you would both immediately get up on the mics, which made me laugh. I'd probably give it a B. Like all things considered,
Yeah,
I'd give it a B.
It's not the best.
It's definitely not like up there, but I felt that like I would watch it again if somebody put it on. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, oh, can we watch anything else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, I definitely feel like you'd be like, can we watch anything else?
No, I mean, I'd just be like, whatever. I can tune it out. It's not something that like if like I came over and you're like, I'm gonna put on a movie, and you're
If
like,
I'm gonna put on Star Wars Episode 1.
yeah, where I'm gonna sit there and like stare intently the entire time. It's I'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, we can put that on, and then like I'd be on my phone at certain points, or I'd be answering text messages, that kind of thing. Chatting, making jokes while we're doing it instead of
Interesting.
if you put on like the first Transformers, where I'd be enraptured.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This is just the average Reddit mod.
Yeah.
That we're-
Every once in a while, I like to remind you that I have bad taste.
Nah, we all do. I like.
Art is subjective.
I just said I like Battleship for the record. So
I mean, we could do a bad good movie podcast.
So
I've got plenty.
let me ask you this question then.
Mm-hmm.
Your opinion specifically, I'm curious because I think I've asked Isaac this before.
Okay.
Would you worry at all that there might be either moral or ethical issues with war movies now being too realistic or too focused on realism?
Are you asking me if video games cause violence in less words?
But the movie version of that.
Yeah.
I don't play video games, so I have to ask the movie version
Yeah,
of
we're
it.
asking the movie version. Of that.
I feel like we talked about in our horror podcast in October. We talked about the desensitization to
Yeah.
violence and in general.
To a degree, yeah, we did. That was.
I
a
mean,
discussion.
I would argue that to an extent, yes, that these kind of films and like this type of media and stuff does kind of make, as the more you consume it, the more you watch it, the less you are overly shocked by the simple things. You watch a man get shot and he falls over, you're just kind of like, whatever. So, then
If I can make a quick amendment to my question, though, because I think
Yeah,
in
go
horror
on.
movies, it was more so just a depiction of violence in general. I think with the war, you're talking about something far more political, politically motivated.
Well,
and
So, are you getting
there's
political on my podcast?
Well, I was
an
going to get to
element
that.
of that propaganda
Um,
behind it. Because, we talk about how Lone Survivor, how we like it, and, how it kind of feels, I don't want to say like a throwback to older war movies, but there is almost a pro-American agenda. And I mean, that's just the nature of Peter Berg to begin with. But,
Well, it goes back to my earlier comments of like the male fantasy, where it's just like again, they're jokes in the sense that it's a very real thing that a lot of
Yeah.
men our age and above have. Listen, sometimes you just want to have a last stand. You know
I
what
mean,
I'm
if you're gonna go out, you
Um,
might as well go out in a blow of glory.
yeah,
That's
you
the
know.
way I see it.
saying? Shout
Blaze
out to
of Glory, sorry.
that one episode of Clone Wars where he's got the minigun and he's
Yeah,
standing.
yeah.
But so like it does romanticize the concepts, and I feel like that's not necessarily a good thing.
I am a
Kind of.
firm believer that romanticizing something is the opposite of empathizing with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that.
Just because like there definitely seems to be in the current age a lot of people who don't understand how absolutely graphic and violent open warfare is.
Or even that, just like the we might talk about the male fantasy behind it. Most of those guys are gonna be sitting in chairs anyway. If they actually
You're gonna
do.
be
But it's like there's a whole
Fucking flying drones. and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
flying drones. Yeah.
They're all in the chair force. It's
Well,
like,
I mean, when like the Ukraine and Russia stuff started, there was entire subreddits dedicated to watching men die.
yeah, combat footage,
Yeah,
stuff like
and
that.
I was just like, I remember like scrolling through people like, yeah, like down with the Russians, and I'm like, you just posted for the world to see a man exploding in graphic detail. Why is that something that you're excited about?
Bro, at least use a VPN if you're gonna do.
Right?
Well, and that's
Like-
one of the great things about All Quiet on the Western Front is like
Yeah.
there's especially the first one there's and in the book especially. I'm by the way big time All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh,
fan.
I couldn't.
We know.
No, really?
1917 is number 1. All Quiet is number 2, and it's like,
And then
all
Quiet is number
everything
3.
else. Yeah, and then All Quiet number 3, and then everything else.
Yeah.
But there's such like a there's so many cool. I don't want to say cool.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
It's hard, right? You want to say cool because like it's a good word to use, but it's not a good word to use.
It's fascinating because there's a lot of like, the main character will go back. Which, by the way, the book is based off of an actual guy, like the author. It's based off of him. But he would go back to Germany, and he would hear or even before he left, he was hearing things like, "Oh, you're gonna be honorable. This is like an honorable thing. You're serving your country." And then he got to the front line and was like, saw 5 of his friends die in an hour and was like, "What the fuck are we doing here?"
Yeah.
And then he got back to Germany and he's like, everybody's treating him like a hero and like you're doing an honorable thing and like keep up the good fight. And he's like, there's a specific chapter where he's just dealing with that, where he's like, what is life? Like, people think that what I'm doing is good for the country, like, but yet they have no idea what is going on, and I can't like break that fabric of reality.
Yeah.
Of like being like, no, actually, war sucks, because then the actual morale of the country would just evaporate.
That's the Pacific covers that too as well.
Which
interestingly.
I think, yeah, because there's that scene when they get on the ship after Guadalcanal where they're like, "Fuck, we like suck. Like everybody must be disappointed in us." And the guy giving them coffee is like, "Yo, you guys are heroes. Like, read this
Yeah.
newspaper." And they're like, "What the fuck? Like, we just went through hell for 5 days,
Yeah.
and everybody's acting like we just picked
Saved
up the
them.
world."
Yeah.
My favorite depiction of that, by the way, is a music video actually. Five Finger Death Punch's cover of "Gone Away." Go watch that. It's literally just a man coming back from war and dealing with PTSD. You can get
Yeah.
on my ass about my music taste all you want. It's a good video. Go watch it.
But I think that's one
Good way
thing. As my voice cracks, I think that's one thing that modern war movies are starting to get away from. That sense of like, you're doing an honorable thing, mainly because there are just the war in Afghanistan and Iraq were contentious
Yes.
about our motives and stuff. So
Yeah.
like,
You fall on one end of the
that
political
lends itself
spectrum
to
anyway.
being like, okay,
Yeah.
why are we there? If you try and make that about World War II, where you're like, why are we fighting Hitler? It's like,
Yeah.
I think you're on the wrong side on that one, buddy.
I feel like it's part of the reason why we don't get like fictional versions of these wars.
Yeah.
Like nobody invents stories about soldiers in Afghanistan. They only adapt specific.
Yeah.
We know these guys were heroes in this moment, so we can adapt the story. Whereas with World War II, it's like people would just make up characters and battles just because
It's just
it
like
was
an honoring
Yeah,
the
just-
entire generation.
Yeah, but now for like Afghanistan or
Because even
Iraq,
like you
people
can
would do
look at
that.
the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and be like, yeah, why are we over there? But also, this guy saved 5 people while he was, half of his leg was chopped off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we can celebrate that because that is a heroic deed in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had many discussion with people who are like, "Oh, the military sucks, this and that." Like, how do you celebrate the military? It's like I'm not celebrating the military complex in the Department of Defense. I'm celebrating the people who actually like
yeah.
Who do some good stuff.
actually lose limbs just because like either A, they don't know better, or B, they're just doing their job. Like,
Yeah,
for a lot of people, it's
because
just a
they come
job.
back and then they
Yeah.
have to go to work at Walmart.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's literally for a lot of people, it's just like a way to get out of shitty situations in
Yeah.
their life, or just like and like
Get
we can.
college.
That's a whole other topic
Yeah,
of should we
that's-
be doing that or anyways.
Yeah.
but like you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes.
Yeah, and then Top Gun Maverick comes around and just says,
Oh, by the way, yeah, that's number 2. Sorry, that's my
Okay.
number 2 war movie is Top Gun Maverick. I'm gonna shift All Quiet on the Western Front down a bit. Forgot about that one.
Classic Isaac moment.
Yeah. But anyways, we just got
yeah.
really deep.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
That's what I was trying to drive
yeah,
up to,
that was
yeah.
a good ending.
that's what I was assuming we'd get to at some point.
Yeah.
That was what
Yeah.
my talking points I've been thinking of the last couple.
That
days.
was a good ending. That was good.
Yeah,
It was a good episode. I feel really good about that one.
"Make love, not war." But use
make
protection.
love during war.
So anyway, guys, if you guys go down to our description, we have the link to your local recruiter. This podcast is brought to you by the United
US,
States Army.
Any soldiers, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Not gonna finish the rest of that joke. James knows
Absolutely.
it.
Oh, you're doing a bit. God damn it! I hate it. Kicking Connor off the tour.
I mean, I do believe it, but there was a bit
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
follows that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that that's a thing. Where it's
You
like,
have
meme?
to. You have to be honest about the fact that.
no,
or the-
or it's like if you're like, I don't know, maybe we're getting too deep now, but like,
No,
it's
it's fine.
like, thank you for your service. You're like, well, really? They kill babies. It's like that's not the fucking. Like, what
Does
are we
it, do
doing?
you know the Bill Burr about that though? Bill Burr has talked about that about like you're like a baby killer, man, and it's like, well, yeah, there's the guy who fights in combat, but then there's the guy who just like points in the direction the plane takes off in, like. Thank you for your service, nevertheless. You know.
There's the one really overworked IT guy hanging out
Yeah.
in their like central complex.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to every serviceman I see and be like,
Yeah.
thank you. But it's
Yeah.
like, we can be
Just
appreciative.
as a blanket, like
yeah,
the,
we can appreciate what they've done for us.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I am biased because I know I
Yeah.
have a lot of servicemen, in my,
Yeah, same.
servicemen and women in my family, so
but
heavily
You're allowed
biased.
to be biased.
no.
Anyways, any last discussions, thoughts? Do we want to tease what's happening next week?
Let's not.
Let's not say we did.
Yeah.
Your
was your
teaser is
teaser.
that we're going to be here again next week. I know that's shocking for us.
So yeah, Peter Berg next week.
Whoa.
Oh, guys, I'm be gone again.
Yeah, too many movies.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
No, we'll just watch Friday Night Lights.
Oh yeah.
We need to do a Friday Night Lights pod eventually at some point. Anyways, we're out of here,
No,
guys. See you later. Thanks for hanging out with us.